Hi, welcome back. My tiny little garden is looking really sad at the moment. It's turning its roots up at me, so it's time to replace it and get ready for the new season that's just starting to emerge upon us. And here is the very last of the bougainvillea, 2 or 3 buds just hanging on for dear life, and then the rest of the plant will eventually lose its leaves and just be sticks over winter, which is why we have the fairy lights, just to make it look a bit prettier during that period. As you can see, the leaves have started to fall already. So I picked up these plants from King's Plant Barn. They are Dizzy Lizzies or Busy Lizzies, or they're actually impatiens. Here's the new hybrid variety with these slightly more geometric flowers, and those are the ones that we're used to with the rounded cluster of petals. So I got a mixture. My daughter instructed me that I had to buy white flowers, so they'd go with the fairy lights that you can see up the top there, that go around the front door. And that's about as interested as she is in gardening. So being store-bought, I'm not sure whether the impatiens will in fact be perennial rather than annual, but I got them for $6 for $8, so I thought at that price it was worth the risk. So I'm removing the old plants here. Before I do each step, I water the garden, so it makes it easier to get the plants out, and they come out more fully. And then now the soil's all bare except for a couple that I missed. And the next thing I will do is give the soil a good watering again, which makes the whole thing just easier to work with. I left this one snapdragon in the garden, and I've just put the solar panel out where it's going to catch more light. I let this plant stay because it's looking quite good, but also when I checked it, it was actually growing above the ground, so I thought, well, I can't rip that out, that's pretty amazing. So I covered it back up and we hope for the best. So the next thing I do is I get my new plants out and I just place them where I think they might go or look nice. And sometimes I might just leave them for a day or two if I'm not completely sure. And certainly in terms of pacing myself, this is a good time to have a break. And I think I did leave these out overnight. Came back to them the next day, because the next part is actually the labour intensive part. As well as digging the plants out, putting them in is quite labour intensive as well, but it's all made a lot easier with the soil being softened by that watering that I was talking about. Sometimes it's quite nice to step back and get a picture of what it looks like from afar. For me, pulling up the driveway and seeing home for the first time is quite a special thing. Here's a close-up of the original impatient shaped flower compared to this one, which is the new geometric sort of larger flower. Here I am digging the plants in the next day. Miraculous change of clothes. And so I've watered the garden again to prepare the soil, and I've watered the pots to moisten that soil as well, so they're not too traumatised from being shifted out of the pots and into the new soil. So here's my finished planting. Give it another good watering. Those white plants should look really pretty with the fairy lights. but I will update you in a few weeks. Never too much watering, especially at this time of year. Even though we're heading into autumn, it's still very dry. All in all, this took me about 10 minutes to do, even though I paced myself and just did it a few minutes at a time. But we can do these things. We are the tortoise and the hare, and we will win the race. See you next time.